Britain's wealthiest spend more on takeaway coffee than on donations, Charity Commission boss says. Kim Stanley Robinson says, every billionaire is a political failure. American corporate elites pay $2,000 a head to dine with China's Xi Jinping. Zalate boy, Russian TikTok star collapses on stage after draft notice. Nicki Minaj calls herself an addict after becoming dependent on Percocet prescribed for cramps, as she also reveals recent plastic surgery in a tell-all interview on Vogue.
U.S. official says frozen Russian assets won't be returned until Moscow pays for Ukraine's reconstruction. Anatoly Prizenko, alleged sponsor of the Stars of David sprayed in Paris, claims the action was aimed at supporting the Jews.
Crypto Queen's OneCoin legal chief pleads guilty to fraud. Celsius to emerge from bankruptcy with repayment plan approved. SafeMoon CEO bail release goes on hold after federal authorities cite flight risk.
In Canada, 2.2 mortgage holders will face interest rate shock in next 2 years, says CMHC, due to a debt with banana producers in Bolivia that and other countries are analyzing stopping selling the fruits. Electric $160,000, 60 miles per hour mini plane with AI co-pilot, aimed at super yacht billionaires as jet ski replacement.
John Wick, Chad Stahelski says a more cinematic, non-continental TV show is in the works, as is an anime project. Star Trek, Prodigy Season 1 coming to Netflix on Christmas Day. Oscar season gets back on track with SAG-AFTRA deal allowing actors to campaign. DeWanda Wise, to star in imaginary thriller for Blumhouse, Lionsgate. House of Usher claims streaming #1, displacing Suits. Stars greenlights, The Spartacus, House of Usher from Stephen S. denied. Nick Tarabay sets return.
Michael J. Fox talks funding, breakthrough research for Parkinson's disease. Former Home and Away actor Johnny Rufo dies, age 35 after brain cancer battle. Robert De Niro found not liable in gender discrimination civil trial, but actor's company must pay his ex-assistant $1.2 million. Update. Ocasio-Cortez warns concern, growing among young voters, over the White House's handling of Israel. As people across the U.S. hang posters of Hamas hostages, others tear them down. Lula assesses that the detention of Brazilians in Gaza is retaliation by Israel. Reportedly, celebrating crowd shouts Nazi slogans at Harvest Festival in Western Pomerania. Germany pledges to make its military the backbone of defense in Europe. EU delivers explosive search dogs and drones to Ukrainian armed forces for demeaning.
Reportedly, Hamas's top 3 leaders are worth staggering $11 billion. Israel demands action from 4 international news outlets over journalists presents at scene of massacres. Israel demands action after journalists reportedly joined Hamas massacre. News outlets deny advance knowledge of Hamas attack on Israel. IDF opens channels for Gazans to report Hamas humanitarian violations.
Goodbye, GamePro. Iconic magazine is shutting down. Owner of Tumblr confirms, sites shift from surging to small and focused. Jezebel shuts down, lays off staff in excruciating decision, parent company says. Ethereum rises above $2.1k as BlackRock files for Ethereum ETF with Nasdaq. U.S. SEC said to open talks with Grayscale on spot Bitcoin ETF push. CEOs of crashed tech upstart Bitwise, accused of swindling $100 million from investors. In South Africa, prisoners win right to use laptops in their cells. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Marjorie Taylor Greene unite in push to free Julian Assange.
Lyle Foster taking a break from football due to mental well-being, Burnley confirm. Andrew Conway retires from professional rugby.
Police investigate whether Iran is behind the assassination attempt on Vidal Quadras. Recently, Alejo Vidal Quadras seriously injured after being shot in the face in the middle of the street in the Salamanca neighborhood of Madrid. 14 Pakistanis arrested for terror activities in Spain. Iraq struggles to thwart Iran proxies attacks as U.S. ups rhetoric. Iran-backed group reportedly carries out new attack on Harrier base. EU throws weight behind Cypriot plan to ship aid to Gaza. Emmanuel Macron rejects Israeli plan for safe zones in southern Gaza. White House says Israel agrees to 4-hour daily pauses in Gaza fighting.
Ukraine ready to compromise ahead of EU decision on launching membership talks. Ukraine's Kuleba pitches his country as asset for the EU. Moldova to crack down on Russia-backed oligarchs, in push for EU accession, says Foreign Minister. Georgians rally for EU after candidate status recommendation.
Giant pandas depart Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute for China. Britain's hazel dormouse is in catastrophic decline as numbers fall by 70%.
Election offices are sent envelopes with fentanyl or other substances. Authorities are investigating. J.P. Morgan's $290 million settlement with Epstein accusers, approved by U.S. judge. Arkansas man receives world's first whole eye, partial face transplant. Alabama can't prosecute people who help women leave the state for abortions, Justice Department says. Officials in Russia annexed Crimea say private clinics have stopped providing abortions.
Donald Trump Jr. expected to kick off defense's case in New York civil fraud trial. Donald Trump's ties with Deutsche Bank unravels. The man accused of attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband was caught up in conspiracies, defense says. Angry at not being served tea, doctor leaves surgery midway. Another Burger King restaurant attacked in Turkey over alleged Israel support. Cop pulled gun on fellow officer who threatened to spoil Top Gun, Maverick. Jury gives him 100 hours of community service and more.
School vaccination exemptions now highest on record among kindergartners, CDC reports. FDA approves Zepbound, a new obesity drug that will take on Wegovy. AstraZeneca joins obesity drug craze as it signs £1 and 60 pence deal with Chinese medical group. AstraZeneca faces legal challenge over COVID vaccine.
Stop suggesting children as friends, social media firms told. Google might have to delay its plan to kill tracking cookies until 2025, ad industry experts believe. In Malaysia, offensive social media posts, regardless of 3R, subject to removal in Malaysia 7 months ago. MCMC, the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission declared do not upload, share content involving race, religion and royalty. Scientists found hundreds of toxic chemicals in recycled plastics. The robust hazard ratios for NOx indicate that traffic-related air pollution had a significant association with mortality. U.S. faces almost daily hazardous chemical accidents, research suggests.
The brain's extracellular space may affect sleep, movement and behavior. Dietary restriction of isoleucine, a Greek letter alpha amino acid that is used in the biosynthesis of protein, increases the health span and the lifespan of genetically heterogeneous mice. Prolonged CBD exposure may restore or reduce functional connectivity differences, reported in cannabis users. Forests with multiple tree species are 70% more effective as carbon sinks than monoculture forests. Sea ice declines in West Antarctica region led to enhanced moisture in the atmosphere, which is then transported over the West Antarctic ice sheet, resulting in greater snowfall.
More people not having children due to climate breakdown fears, finds research. The educational reforms have likely contributed to increasing levels of school pressure for Swedish adolescents. Head lice evolution mirrors human migration and colonization in the Americas. New study shows horse leaper gene can leave you destined for a life of insomnia. Snoop Dogg and his son are launching death row games. U.S. Museum buys collection of Princess Diana's dresses from fashion designer Jacques Zaguri for an estimated £100,000 after reading about them on Mail Online.
In the USA, Wake Forest orthodontist offers free gun with Invisalign treatment. In Germany, Offenburg, student killed after being shot in classroom. Consumer Finance Protection Bureau wants to regulate Venmo, Apple Cash like banks. Northern Waitrose becomes UK's first supermarket to go back to fully staffed checkouts after axing almost all of its self-service tills. Lego fans told to change their passwords right now following serious cyber attack.
Powell says Federal Reserve is not confident it has done enough to bring inflation down. In Japan, Kishida's cabinet approves $87 billion extra budget. Findings suggested that Volkswagen, Daimler, and Toyota are more affected by shocks in steel prices than by USD and oil price shocks. Lexus LBX City SUV to get turbo Toyota GR Yaris hot hatch power as per report. GMC Yukon, the American 8-seater SUV, confirmed for Australia. Porsche tops customer satisfaction while Genesis finishes last as new car supply normalizes. Kenya's Ojik people being evicted for carbon credits, claim lawyers. U.S. Supreme Court denies request by oil firms to hold coastal erosion suit. EU reaches deal on contested nature restoration bill. 2023 China Hydrogen Industry Conference kicks off in Nanhai, Foshan. First planned small nuclear reactor plant in the U.S. has been cancelled. BlackRock invests $550 million in Occidental carbon capture project. McLaren hints at Ricardo factor in £9 million British pounds operating loss. NWSL announces landmark media partnerships with CBS Sports, ESPN, Prime Video and Scripps Sports. India to be added to UK safe states list, ruling out asylum rights for illegal migrants from the country. French court ends so-called heirs' claims over Malaysia's diplomatic assets, says Elena in Sulu case. Thames Water pumped at least 72 liters of sewage into Thames since 2020. Microplastic eating plankton may be worsening crisis in oceans, say scientists. EU top court rejects industry appeal over forever chemicals. Trump says he would consider making Tucker Carlson his vice president. Dwayne Johnson says political parties asked if I could run for president and show data proving he'd be a contender. It was one after the other. New legislation would let Governor DeSantis remove local officials who take down Confederate monuments.
Sony has now sold over 46.6 million PS5 consoles. Valve reveals the Steam Deck OLED, $549 buys better screen, battery, and more. Samsung Galaxy will live translate calls using AI.
Moon astronauts of Artemis will need oxygen. NASA wants to extract it from lunar dust. Amazon's Project Kuiper demonstrates safe, controlled satellite maneuvering on orbit. Twin galaxy of the Milky Way discovered at the edge of the universe.
Apple suffers setback in fight against EU's $14 billion tax order. Apple settles DOJ case that it discriminated against U.S. workers. SpaceX wins reprieve from U.S. lawsuit alleging anti-immigrant bias. Google employees typically work more than 8 hours a day, says an internal memo. iPhone 16 likely to get exclusive AI featured in iOS 18. As per bill of materials analysis, iPhone 15 Pro Max costs $37.70 more than iPhone 14 Pro Max. Google stops selling Fitbits in regions where it doesn't sell Pixels. Census projects, U.S. population bust by 2080. Over 1 in 4 Americans will be Latino by 2060. Australia signs historic climate refuge pact with Tuvalu. India needs 8% to 8.5% growth to create enough jobs, former RBI governor says. Young people are fleeing Italy. Almost 50% are under 34.
James Gunn and John Cena's Coyote vs. Acme becomes the latest completed movie shelved by Warner Bros. Discovery for tax write-off. Luca Guadagnino confirms he's no longer doing his Scarface remake. In the UK, Odeon is introducing double beds in their UK cinemas. Tracy Chapman becomes the first black person to win Song of the Year at the Country Music Awards. Hundreds protest Rammstein singer Till Lindemann at Leipzig concert, and Till Lindemann denies media access to his concerts. Jeffrey Katzenberg says AI will eliminate 90% of artist jobs on animated films.
China's biggest lender ICBC, hit by ransomware attack. Cybercriminals behind Movit unearth fresh zero-day to exploit on-prem size 8 hosts. Bad bots make up 30% of internet traffic, and they're after APIs.
China AI startup stockpiled 18 months of NVIDIA chips before ban. NVIDIA to release 3 new AI chips for China after U.S. restrictions. Huawei wins a massive $1 billion 5G telecom refarming order. SoftBank plunges after Vision Fund loss and WeWork collapse. UK property firm to sell £125 million British pounds apartment block in Mayfair. Thai Air posts 4th straight profit as China numbers grow.
Flights get longer as airlines are forced to skirt war zones. It can now cost $4 million to skip the queue at the Panama Canal. In France, Salevaments de la Terre dissolution decree, cancelled by the Council of State. Tainted Walmart, CVS, Target eye drops tied to unsanitary Indian factory. AIIMS hospitals across India to have Ayush departments, says Union Minister. Benet Meat Technologies receives EU certification for cell-cultivated pet food.
Japan prepares $13 billion to support country's chip sector. Germany reaches deal on electricity price support for industry. Overdue commercial property loans hit 10-year high at U.S. banks. Philippines says China fired water cannon at supply vessel. China tells Britain to stop efforts to enhance ties with Taiwan. Colombia ELN guerrillas free kidnapped father of Liverpool soccer star Diaz. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak had minor stroke in Mexico while attending World Business Forum.
Biden says no possibility of Gaza ceasefire. Egypt rejected U.S. offer to supervise Gaza post-war security. Netanyahu rejected ceasefire for hostages deal in Gaza, sources say. UN rights chief says war crimes committed on both sides of Israel-Hamas conflict.